Our next panelist is Mr. Casey Maddox. Mr. Maddox is litigation counsel for the Center for Law and Religious Freedom, the advocacy ministry of the Christian Legal Society, the nation's largest membership organization of Christian law students, lawyers, and judges. CLRF's twofold mission is to defend religious freedom and the sanctity of human life, two goals that converge in the fight for healthcare professionals' rights of conscience. Casey has twice successfully defended the Weldon Amendment in federal court and frequently speaks to groups of healthcare professionals on their rights of conscience. Presently, he is lead counsel for the Christian Medical Association, Catholic Medical Association, and American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists defending HHS regulations protecting conscience rights in lawsuits brought by 7 states, Planned Parenthood, and other abortion rights groups. Casey is a graduate of the University of Virginia and the Boston College Law School. He lives in Burke, Virginia with his wife Samantha and 2 daughters, Madeline and Laura.
Thank you, I do appreciate that. My name is Casey Maddox and I am a Southern Baptist. I feel like I need to, for some reason I have a feeling. But in my defense, I did go to Boston College for law school. And I often joke that I spent my time at Boston College attempting to explain to Catholics how to be Catholics, particularly in the life area. We would have discussions of Roe versus Wade, and I would be astounded by how many people who claimed to be Catholic, who were law students at Boston College, were fully supportive of Roe and thought it was just a wonderful decision. And so I would explain to them the teachings of the church and try to convince them to follow the teachings of the church. I want to give you just a little bit of an overview of the legal protections that in fact, are presently in place and that protect your right and the right of other medical professionals not to assist or to follow your conscience in healthcare. And I assume, I want to ask this question here because I assume, well, I will go ahead and ask this question here, but I assume it will be a better answer. How many people are aware of the fact that there is, in fact, that there are, in fact, federal laws? I should ask it this way. Before maybe 6 months ago, since the discussion has been ongoing, how many of you were not aware of the fact that there were laws in place that prohibited discrimination against healthcare workers who refused to perform abortions or be trained in how to perform abortions? Is everyone generally aware? Some people were unaware of that. When I spoke at Georgetown recently to a group of medical students, this was Christian Medical Association as well as Med Students for Life. Speaking at Georgetown, which I am reliably informed is a Catholic institution. And while speaking there, I was amazed that, I asked the same question there to a group of people who were all supposedly pro-life. And about a third of them were even aware of the fact that there were laws in place that said Georgetown can't force you, can't pressure you at all to learn how to do abortions before you leave here. They can't make you do that. When you start to look for a job, your employer cannot ask you, well, are you going to do abortions? They can't do this to you. And people are unaware of this. And so I think, well, while I agree with our panelists about sort of what some of the core problems in this area are, and that the church being, the church broadly speaking, being much to blame for a lot of the problems, just as far as not explaining itself, and not impressing upon people the importance of these issues. The law has also not done its job. There are laws that have been in place since Roe versus Wade was decided. And it is incredible that people today would be in the healthcare industry and completely unaware of those 35 years later. So we'll run through some of this here. I think I didn't do anything. I'm a graduate of the University of Virginia, and I like quotes. And so I am legally obligated with my UVA degree to quote Thomas Jefferson. No provision in our Constitution ought to be dearer to man than that which protects the rights of conscience against the enterprises of the civil authority. This is, of course, the man who, according to legal scholars, is completely to be relied upon in understanding the First Amendment and the religion clauses particularly. Crispin Sartwell, and some of you may have seen this, is a self-described pro-choice atheist writing in the LA Times about the conscience debate very recently. And he pointed out in the LA Times, the extent to which an institution seeks to expunge individual conscience and moral autonomy is the extent to which it is totalitarian and dangerous. The idea that I resign my conscience to the institution or to the state is perhaps the single most pernicious notion in human history. It is at the heart of the wars and genocides of this century and the last. Very well put. It's good to have people like this on your side. And then, of course, Albert Einstein, never do anything against conscience, even if the state demands it. The Holy Spirit uses all sorts of people, so it's good to see those. So I will, if you would self-describe as liberal, hopefully you're an enlightened liberal who believes in conscience rights. So take no offense, but I will step through with you what I have discerned anyway as sort of the way that almost every legal battle flows. Everything that is pushed for from the liberal side of the political spectrum, particularly in any sort of reproductive health areas and other social issues, this is sort of the model we follow. And it's good to be able to see this and understand this is what happens so that you can, in following this issue, you can be aware this is what's coming. So the first argument is it's a free country. So whatever it is should not be illegal. Right. The second argument then is the Constitution prohibits it from being made illegal. So first is sort of a policy argument. Now we have a constitutional argument. If the Constitution protects a right to X, how can it be immoral? Anyone who disagrees is a bigot. Some of you certainly probably feel that in your practice now. If abortion is protected, if contraception is protected, how can it be that you would be opposed to it? Obviously, there's something wrong with you. If it's a right, therefore there's no reason to oppose it. If X is a constitutional right, how can we deny it to the poor? Taxpayer money must be provided to subsidize X. If the Constitution requires that taxpayer money be given to people to get X, you can run straight through these. People who refuse to participate in X are criminals, and then people who publicly disagree with X are criminals. Where are we now? Well, in California, in the introduction we mentioned that I represented medical groups defending the Weldon Amendment in California. The state of California had to argue in that case. The Weldon Amendment, I'll talk about later, is one of the federal laws, one of the more recent ones, that protects healthcare workers from being discriminated against because they refuse to perform or refer for abortions. And the state of California, in order to challenge the Weldon Amendment, had to say, well, the Weldon Amendment interferes with California's sovereign right to enforce its own laws. And one of the laws they identified, or the specific law they identified, was a law that says, look, you have to perform any medical procedure that's necessary in a medical emergency. Well, then of course, define medical emergency to include familial health reasons, which I'm still not entirely clear on what that's supposed to mean, except that it's a catch-all for everything. My family might be impacted, so somehow that's familial health. So